You know what? You're going to go home tonight and said, I wished I'd have went home with that sweetheart.
Today I've come to Blue Springs, Nebraska for an auction at a retired car lot. This was owned by Fuzz and Ruby Morris, and they were in business since the 50s. Sold a lot of cars, but the ones that are out here in this collection are ones that, for whatever reason, Fuzz thought were rare and unique and interesting enough that he didn't sell them out on the lot and kept them for his personal collection. These were stored in the barn for decades, but the local mechanic has dutifully taken them out, cleaned them up, and gotten all of them running except for the Model T. This T is a 26, and it's toward the end of T production. They were starting to proof a lot of the changes that would come on the Model A's. Unfortunately, the raccoons have been in here, and as the pest that they are, completely destroyed the upholstery. It'd be pretty expensive to work on this and get it back right. Still has the original key in the ignition. You guys know I've been kind of looking for a T for a while, and this one holds some interest, but I've kind of decided that I'd really like to have a open car. So if this one was super cheap, I'd probably jump on it, but I'm kind of holding out for an open T, so we'll see what happens. By 26, they were electric start, had been that way for a few years, but they still had the crank. No front brakes, just a pretty basic car, even with the 26 and 7 changes. It was still a T underneath. All the basic old mechanicals were still there. This car, you look close, and the bodywork is just pretty rough. There's rust, the edges of the fenders. So honestly, a car like this, probably not something you're going to restore. It's just going to stay a beater. Kind of a neat beater though. As long as it's been sitting, this car's just going to need a lot of work to bring it back, even to make it operable as a beater. Of course, at the beginning of T production, cars were almost exclusively open models, and by the mid-20s, people were rapidly getting used to the idea of closed cars, and they were much more popular. This car's also got all the original single pane glass in it, and shredded top. That top, I think if you tried to haul this thing home on a trailer, probably is going to rip off unless you cover it up with pallet wrap. The single pane glass in these is a hazard. There's stories from back in the day, people getting wrecks and get sliced open. Pretty rough old tire. They got all the miles out of that. Of course, no bumpers, but back in the day, there were a lot of optional parts you could buy aftermarket. 60 Corvair. This is the first year the Corvair was available. Chevrolet's entry in the compact market. It's kind of their spin on the rear-engine air-cooled cars, which, of course, Volkswagen and other European imports had captured. 60 has the one-year-only winged front emblem, which is the neatest front emblem for a Corvair, I think. Got your tidy trunk space. This one has the optional gasoline heater. My mom remembers riding in a friend's way back, and she said you had to crack the windows because it would get a little fumey inside the cabin. This car's pretty original. Closer you look, it's definitely needing some work and some upkeep to be caught up. Fuel tanks on all these are probably spoiled. The belt's super loose. I'm sure that generator's not charging. Quick look at the body plate. Try and see if this will zoom in halfway good enough for you guys to read. I know some of you guys kind of have fun looking at those and decoding them. Original dealer badge on the car. So this one was sold just up the road at Beatrice. Parked in 76, 77. So they got some decent use out of the car. This one's got the optional trim rings. And if you look real close, they've got the little Chevy bow ties on them. I believe, if not the same part, a similar one was also an option for the Chevy 2, which also had 13-inch wheels, of course. Inside, just pretty well kept car. This is ratty overall, but definitely above average. Inside storage helped keep the rodents out and the sun damage off. Cool old oil change stickers from back in the day. Kind of makes you curious what the mileage is on this thing. And she has traveled just a little over 70,000. Got the little automatic shifter on the dash. Kind of similar to the 55 Dodge. It's got wear, but just really nice old car that still smells like 1960 inside of it. Kind of nice. Unfortunately, there's just not a huge market for these cars, so I don't know what this thing will bring, but probably not much. It's neat. I've already got two 1960 four-door sedans, and probably don't need another one, although this one is nicer than both of mine for sure. Be a good entry-level collector car. Just something oddball, unique for somebody that wants something old to tinker on, cruise around with, and not spend a bunch of money on. Old 51 Ford. They said this was a true little old lady car. She had bought it and drove it around, and then when she died, it just got parked in Fuzz's collection. For whatever reason, he thought it was unique or special enough, or held maybe some sentimental value because he knew her, that he didn't sell it. Original etched logos on the assembly line glass. Beautiful, beautiful original inside. Very well kept. Just a nice, honest, old, low mileage Survivor. 48,000 original miles on it. This one is, of course, the Ford-O-Matic. I believe this was the first year the Ford-O-Matic option was available. This one is, of course, the 8BA flathead V8. Pretty original, untouched car. This one, it's rough enough that just clean it up, buff the paint, and leave it like it is. Old, honest, original Survivor with a bit of a time-worn appearance that just tells the story of the use and the care and Survivor quality of this car. And the next one here, you'd say probably kind of the star of the show. This is a 1929 Roosevelt, and these were only built for a couple years. Hey, kitty. It was actually a submodel of the Marmon, and they're built with a straight 8. Some interesting accessories on it. The little spare tire lock. Another aftermarket accessory piece is this locking fuel cap. This one was parked in 66, I believe. Very neat survivor car. It's got the old wood spoke wheels, and somebody has painted the white walls on there. That was a thing back in the day. White wall tire paint. I believe these are Sears Allstate tires. Original pinstriping on the wheels. There you can see the King Bee step plates. And the original, believe you can just barely make it out. It says Roosevelt Marmon built. These were intended to be a affordable 8-cylinder car, and they actually sold quite a lot of them, about 22,000 in the first year. Of course, the Roosevelt name was based on Theodore Roosevelt, and so the radiator badge actually has a profile picture of the man himself. Roosevelt was a very popular president, and at the time of his presidency, he really did a lot for America on the world stage. He was a very popular president, and he'd been gone for about 10 years. Died in 1919, so this car was a bit of a way to memorialize him. Unfortunately, the Great Depression was a big part of knocking out the smaller companies like Marmon, and so they just didn't survive that. Straight 8 is very original. See the spark plugs pretty close together. Just a very small engine in general. Probably tiny little pistons in there. This one's got the Hayes body plate. Let's see if it'll kind of focus in there. Just a very good original survivor car. Very honest original, well kept. Got the original guide tilt ray headlights. Of course, before General Motors bought Guide, they were separate company that supplied to a lot of other manufacturers besides just General Motors. Inside, again, very much a survivor time capsule car. Got the original headliner and side panels, 50s seat covers, 60s cloth that's just been stapled over the door panels. Of all the cars in the collection, this is the one that Fuzz was the most proud of. Old show ribbon from 66. He would take these out on tours and parades and kept them up. He died probably 10 years ago. So look at the dash. Very neat Art Deco look. Do want to point out on the door panels, you've got the original window cranks, and as they age, this is a different type of pot metal, and it just kind of heaves apart, gets those cracks in it, almost like a soggy cracker. Original wood graining. Believe that little piece in the middle there is a water slide decal. That's the type of stuff that if you go and restore a car, it just won't be original. There's really only one assembly line look, and the way this car is, other than some of the updates like the door panels and the white walls painted on, it just really captures that. The old 56 Chevy, I believe they said this one has 30,000 original miles, and it was actually seized from storage, and the mechanic worked on this thing and tinkered on it and gave it some love and actually got it started. Very original trunk. Still got the jack decals. That mat's still soft. A lot of times those get all brittle and broke apart. This one was sold right in Wymore. Hope to see this one stay local, but you never know. It's a very, again, original time capsule survivor car. Most of the paint's original. There have been few touch-ups here and there. Of course, they've got the seat covers on it. The original upholstery, I think, is in decent shape, but that foam starting to break down a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful preserved original car. This one is radio delete. That was an option some people skipped. Needs a headliner. Upholstery would be usable, but needs some work to bring it back and get it really spruced up all the way. But look at the assembly line gloss still on that paint. Chrome, excellent shape, very straight car. Overall, just a nice survivor. I didn't catch it on film, but all he did was reach in and just tap the key, and probably half a revolution, and this thing just fired off, and it sat there and purred like a sewing machine. Just very, very original car, all the way down to the generator, the air cleaner, probably even your belts, your hoses, your plug wires, that sort of thing. After just 30,000 miles of use, not too much of that's been changed and messed with. Car like this, little bit of work and it almost could be museum quality piece. Still wearing bias ply tires with the original hubcaps. This one makes me miss mine a little bit, but it was the right time for it to go on to a new owner. This one's rust-free just like mine was. 1932 Chevrolet. This one's got the chrome headlights and the chrome hood doors. Doesn't show very well in the video here, but this is actually a blue body with black fenders. And Chevrolet, of course, relied for decades on their overhead valve inline sixes.
Now, something like that, would that be an original style motor in there yet, you think?
Yeah.
What would it be? Do you have any idea? Like a 215 or something? 235?
I want to say it was like a 194.
That tiny little distributor.
Yeah. Believe Chevrolet's catalog name for their two-door sedan was the Coach, and these were very, very popular cars. They sold quite a lot of them. A good number of coupes and four-doors, but these two-door sedans, just very popular seller. Very plain, basic dashboard for 32. A lot of the other makes were starting to get more stylized. The seats and the side panel upholstery, I can't say 100% for certain, but I'm almost sure those have been reupholstered. Very good original time capsule Survivor again, just like the rest that are here. 32, you could get the single spare on the back or the dual side mount front fenders mounted spares. This one, of course, has the split bumpers. And they got all their wear out of that tire. Always really enjoy seeing 1930s Chevrolets and GM cars that have survived. They just didn't hold up as well over time with the structural wood as your steel-bodied Mopar and Fords did. Another one I really like, this 64 Mercury Comet convertible. I used to not be crazy over this yellow color, but it's really growing on me, especially with the black top and even on two-door hardtops with black vinyl tops. Really makes it pop. Inside, pretty well kept original. These were awful dusty sitting in the barn, and they've done a big amount of cleanup work to get them where they are. This one in the pictures with that convertible top being down, there's a lot of dirt in the interior. 72,000, I believe. About in the range of where these other Survivor cars were parked. This car has overall been refurbished. They put the different wheels on. It's got the 289, I believe, and pretty original under the hood. You can see obviously repainted. Got quite a bit of overspray there on the core support. Car like this is ideal. Just put the top down, jump in, and use it and enjoy it. These Comets shared a lot with the Mustang and the Falcon, so as long as the body and interior and trim, kind of the harder Comet specific parts, are there and in good shape, you can do quite a lot with them mechanically as far as good parts availability, just because so many of those other Ford parts were shared with the other common chassis. And last one of the bunch to show, this is a 64 Cadillac convertible. I believe this one's been refurbished as well, repainted. It's a good 20-footer car. Closer you look, there's imperfections. You start getting up this far north, and it's a little more common to see cars like this that are not equipped with factory AC. On a luxury car like this, not an option that everybody ordered, and still this early wasn't standard equipment just yet. 64 has these unique lower front fender park lights. 63 had just a little round one. Very straight car, not a rust bucket junker. One that just use and enjoy right like it is and not worry too much about it. This is the Matador Red iridescent paint. This was one of 3 shades of red available for 64 Cadillacs. See, they still retain the iconic tail fin design. By 64, every other manufacturer had given that up, but Cadillac kept it on, and it was really part of their iconic styling. Big smooth dent in that back quarter. Hopefully somebody skilled enough would be able to get that thing out. and still save the paint and the trim. I know some paintless dent repair guys that are pretty good at that. It's not a skill that I've ever learned or even come close, but it's good to know there's guys around that do it. Very original interior. Got the old leather upholstery. Just has a good time capsule survivor smell. Stick your head in this car and that's a time machine that takes you back to a decade and a time that I never knew. But that's the great thing about these cars. You can still experience it after the fact.
Auction, and we thank you all for coming out. I'm going to make a few introductions. I'm going to turn over to Roger. Roger Peterson, his wife Louisa in here in the office, or in the topper with me, nephew, and Susan Fielder, and Steve. Where'd Steve go? Susan, there's Steve right here. Susan's inside. If you need a VIN number, make your way in there to help, or to get it from Susan. Roger's going to make a few announcements, and then I'll make a few announcements, and we'll get right along. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Roger Peterson, and Roger, she's your baby.
Thank you. We'd like to say, first of all, on behalf of the family, we really appreciate you all coming out today to support President Ruby Morris, the state, and everything that they did through the years. Like Clint said, my name is Roger Peterson. I'm a nephew, trustee with cousin from across the family tree, as I call her, Susan Fielder. She's a co-trustee with me and Dee. And we really appreciate y'all coming out. And first of all, we want to give a little bit of thanks to a lot of people who made this day happen. So first of all, the vehicle preparation and the sight seeing. These cars have been in the back in that Quonset out there since Buzz built it in about 97, 98. And some have been out, some have. There's a bunch of guys that started working to clean that place out. And we want to recognize the site crew and the cleanup. First of all, we want to recognize Danny Bomeyer, because he got 7 of these cars running out of 8. And the 8th one didn't run because none of us were old enough, so I think somebody can figure it out. Where's Danny? Danny? And we also want to recognize his life partner and his business associate, friend, and administrator, Sharon, because without that, then he keeps Danny going. And we appreciate all the hard work she's done. And Brian Campbell, and Larry Carpenter, Steve Fielder, Travis Hart, Bob Harden, and this guy on my right, whoever he is, Dale Harden. And there's a few other recruited family members and friends that helped out, and if I mention your name, Dale Carpenter is one. Some of them helped out before we all got here, so we want to appreciate that. And then there's a few other people that helped behind the scenes that really got the word out through social media and advertising. Susan Fielder, Cousin Sue in the office, Cousin Dan Morris down here with that, really got things out. And Travis Harden. Before I turn it back to Gail, or Slim, as you know him, back like he used to be, I want to say a few words on behalf of President Ruby, Morris, the state, and our family. Like I said, can't say enough about your support. President Ruby collected these cars since some in the late 50s, some 60s, 70s, 80s. Some of y'all that are around here would have seen them come out in the parades. We used to clean them up and bring them out for Blue Springs and Wymore. And they really enjoyed that, and you know, they kept them as a pride and joy. And we're happy that we can have you all here to have interest and get them a new proper home. I know they would be really pleased. Speaking of these cars, when you are successful enough and lucky to buy one, which we hope everybody could, so there's 8 of you out there, and let's keep it calm. President Ruby, as you know, spent their life trying to work to the betterment of Blue Springs and Wymore. They did a lot of things for the community. Some of them we all knew about, some of them we didn't. Some they did behind the scenes. So one thing we want you all to know, if you're successful and you buy one of these cars, the proceeds from all of this auction go to the betterment of Wymore, Blue Springs. There's a fund, an endowment they're creating, and that's where this money's going to go. So, you know, it'll carry on their legacy because they were all about Blue Springs and Wymore, and we want to carry that legacy on, and that's what why we're doing this today. So with that, we want to thank you all for coming out and turn it back over to you.
That's our right here. We're going to work our way right on down through the 8 cars just the way they're setting. So get in and help yourself, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of myself, Gil Harden, I sure thank you all for coming out to the auction this evening. You heard the terms, and let's fire away on the 1926 Ford Model T. So get in and help yourself, ladies and gentlemen. 2011, 11, 11, 11, 11, 12, 13, 13, 12, 13, right here, 12, 13, I know you brought your trailer. So let's get her loaded. 1800, 17, 18, now 18, 19, 19, 19, 2000, even money. 1900, yes sir, you're in. You gotta be 2, now 23, now 4, done, 23, now 4, now 5, 25, say, 25, now 6, 25, now 6, 25, say, 25, I'm down here, 25, say, 25, now 6, yes sir, I got you, 25, say, 25, and 6, 25, and 6, and anybody else, and I'll 2700, sir. I took 26, 27, 2700, 2700, 2800. 28, 27, 8, 27, 8, 27, 8, 27, 8, 27, 8, 27, 8, 27, 8, sold. $2,700, buyer 39. 39. And like Roger stated at the start of the show, Danny Ballmeyer got these cars all running every morning, every night. We drove them back in the shed. We brought them out the next morning. And I mean, Danny spent a ton of time on these cars. Right. We want to make sure, like Roger, that's a good point, Roger. The cars you run, if you're local, you feel like you want to drive them home, just bear in mind, there's no brakes on these cars. But motor, I mean, they fire right up, and this and that, you know, and as long as the car's been set, and that's certainly understandable. You know, we got them up, we got them running, and Steve and the boys, and they just spent a ton of work in these cars, so get in and help yourself. 500K, 600, 5, 6 dollars, 6 dollars, 5, 6 dollars, I got a home, 5, 6 dollars, 6 dollars, 5, say, 5, 6 dollars, 6 dollars, I got a home, cash is on, 500, just say, 5, 6 dollars, 6 dollars, 5, 6 nothing, 7, 6 nothing, 8 dollars, 8 dollars, 8 dollars, 8 dollars, 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 8 and 9, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 800 and 9, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 8 and 9, hands in the air, we're gonna roll, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 800 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 8 and 9. 8 and 9 dollars, all down, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 800, 900, 900. 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 8 and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 800, and 9 dollars, 9 dollars, 9. Sold it, $800, 63, 63, $800, buyer 63. Moving right along, we are on the 1951 Ford. And Danny got her running, and I'll tell you what, she sounds pretty.
My great beautiful car, and the old story of the little baby, but she drove it. And then when she couldn't drive no more, Uncle Fred bought it, and he kept it out back for her.
So there you go. You bet. Been in the family for years, guys, and Danny Ballmeyer's got it running, and I mean to tell you, like I said, he drove it from the shed out here and back in the evenings, and so been on the 51 Ford. 2,000, 2,100, 2,100, 2,121, 25, and 6, 2,500, 6, 27, 2,700. Don't want to make you mad. 2,700. 26, 7, 26, 7, 7, 7, 26, 7, 7, one more time. 26, 7, 7, 7, 26, 7, 7, 7, 26, 7, 26, 7, 7, 26, 7, oh, done, sir. 26, 7, 7, 7, 26, 7, 7, 26, 7. It's going to Omaha. Sold at $2,600. Your number is number 1. Thank you, folks. Number 1. Thank you very much. Here's your 29 Roosevelt. Danny got her running, and I'll tell you what, guys, that old baby, she runs out here just pretty smooth. You bet. So, got her up and running, and here it is, and this has kind of been the highlight of Fuzz and Ruby's collection, sat here in the back shed for years and years and years. Roger, are you hooked up with your guy in Texas? Are you hooked up? No. Yep, so get in and help yourself, and you're bidding on the 29 Roosevelt. Get in and help yourself, and I want 10,000. 10, 11, 10, 11, 11, 11, 11, 10, 11, right here. 21 and 2. 21 and 2, gentlemen, and 21,000 and 2, gentlemen, and 22 and 3. 23 to down, woman and 23 now. That's what I should have started it for. 24,000 is all. 23, 4, 23 now, woman and 23 now, woman and 23, 4. 23 now, woman and 23 now, woman and 23. She says, honey, buy that for me. The 24,000. I got 23.5 right there. 24,000. 24,000. 24,000. 24. 23.5. 4. 24 woman and 23. 5 and 4 woman and 23. Now 4 woman and what's your man say? 23 now 4. 23.5. 24,000. 24,000 Texas. 24,000. Sold the car. Thank you all. $23,500. Buyer number 7. Buyer number 7. Buyer number 7. Thank you guys. Thank you all, and thank you Texas. Moving right along, guys. We're going to go on to this should be the 56 Chevy. What's that, Danny? 35,000 actual miles on the car, and I'll tell you what, they all run. Otherwise, we're going to sell them. But Danny said, if you want to hear it run for a minute, all right. You bet. Even I drove it the other night, took it downtown. So get in and help yourself. You're bidding on the 1956 Chevy Bel Air. You heard the story, and get in and help yourself. 5,000, 55, 5,000, 55, 7,500, 75, 76, 7,600, 76, 7,700, 78, 79, 8,000. Thank you. 8,100. 8,000, 81, 81, 1,081, 1,081, 1,081, gotta be 8,100, sir. 8,081, 1,181, 1,080, 1,081. Sold the car, $8,000, number 1. Thank you, folks. $8,000, buyer number 1. We are moving on. You bet. Take it in and out of the shed every night, guys. You're bidding on. Roger, you get hooked up with Texas again. 1932 Chevy, and Danny's got her running like a kitty. She sounds good. You're bidding on the 32 Chevy. Been back there in the shed of Buzz Ruby's collection for years. So get in and help yourself. I got 4,000 cash back there in Iowa. 41, 41, 1, 45, 41, 42, 10,000, 10,001, 10,1. 10,002.
That brought 8 with that little Corvair.
Oh, you know what? You're going to go home tonight and said, I wished I'd have went home with that, sweetheart.
No, that got the Goodpliers on it. It didn't.
You're in at 10-1 Texas, 10,200. 10-1, 10-2, 10,102, 10-1, 10,102, 10-2, new blood, 10,003. I got new blood, 10,003, 11,500, 11,600. 11,500, 11,500, 11,500, 11,600, 11,600, new blood again, 11,700. It's got to be 11,700. 11,700. We're going to go slow and easy. 11,800, 11,900, 11,900, 11,900. I like this. 11,900, 11,900. You're out, Texas. 12,000. 12,100. I've got 12,000. I need 12,100. 12,100. 12,100. 12,100. I don't want to sell him out, but I want a yes or no. 12,100. 12,100. Anybody else? 12,100. 12,001. 12,101. Thank you all. Sold the car. $12,000. Buyer 16. You bet. Buyer 16. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hey, we're moving right along to the Comet. Danny, let's fire that baby up. I had fun driving that the other night. Yeah, we American graffiti. When that baby starts up, you better hold on. Thank you, Danny. Mark, go ahead and shut the hood down, the trunk down. You've, get in, help us up. You've been on the 1964 Comet. Of course, you heard the story at the start of the show, all about your titles and this and that. Get in, help yourself. And I got 5,000 cash, and that's real money. 5, 5,100, 5, and 51, 51 and 2, doesn't have been where my man go. 52, he doesn't have been 51 and 2, 51 and 10, 4. 10,400, 10,004. 10 3, 10 4, 10 3, number 10 and 3, 4 number 10 and 3, number 10,003 number 10 and 3 number, all done wrong, 10 and 3, 4 number 10 and 3, 4 10 and 3, 4 10 and 3, 4 10 and 3 and 4, sold the car, $10,300. Thank you very much, Steve. 1963 Cadillac, and I tell you what, she runs like a new one.
It does. It does have brakes. And we have driven this in and out every night, and this baby will fire up, and you just think you're just gonna, it's like being in the house, and you just love it because it's ready to go. Look at those seats. It's ready to go. Look at that top.
Get in, help yourself on the 63 Cadillac convertible, guys, and let's go. 390 engine. Got the 390 engine. Right, Danny? Yeah, 390 engine. Get in and help yourself, and there we go. 20,000. 10,000, 11, 10, 11, 11, 11, 11, 10, 11, 11, 11, 11, 10, 11, 11, 11, 15, 16, 15, 16, 16, 16, 15, 16, 16, 15, 16, 16, 15, 16, 15, 16, 16, what do you think? 15, 16, 15, 16, 16, 15, 16, I'll drive it to Omaha for you. 16,000. 15, 16, 15, 16, now you're in, Rod. 15, 16, 15, you're in. 15, 16, 16, anybody else? 15, 16, 16, 15, 16, 15, 16, 16, all done there. 15, 16, now 17,000. 17,000. 17,000. 18. 18,000. 18,000. You've been good all week. 18,000. 18,000. I'll take you golfing next week. 18,000. 17, 18, 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, you sure? 17, 18, 18, 18, now 18, 18, now 18, now 18, 18, now 18, 17, now 18, but 18, now 18, Paul, 18, 18,000. I'm going to put her in the bank. 18,000. 18, 18. 17, 18, 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, anybody else? 17, 18, 18, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, all done? 17, 18, now 18, now 18, now 18, 17, 18. Board meeting, 18,000. 18,000. 17, 18, 17, 18, 18, all done? 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18, now 18, 17, 18. I sold the car. It's going to Texas. Well, it's coming back home. $17,000. The car is going to Aaron Rule. 17,000. Thank you all very much on Buzz and Ruby, the Morris Estate auction. That's it for the antique cars. If you want to talk to anybody about anything else, the little blue car that Ruby drove right over here, she drove it to church, she drove it to the casino, she drove it all over Lincoln. Talk to Danny Bollmeyer, and if you're planning on leaving a car or what have you,
The 26T, at nearly $3,000, was a pretty cheap buy-in, but when you considered the amount of work this car still needed against the cost of a decent, older restoration that was in drivable condition, it really wasn't a bargain. To put it in perspective, a year ago, the same car, immaculately restored with a perfect interior, sold for $8,000. The market for these cars is soft, they're really neat, and if you're looking, you can definitely snag a deal on one. This was a no-brainer for me to pass and look for a better car. The '60 Corvair, in a sea of high-priced cars, was the lone, cheap bargain. If you put a little bit into tinkering and maintenance on this, you could have a fun, neat little driver to tool around in for a very cheap investment. Well bought. And next to the Corvair, another vehicle that was a lot of car for the money, this 1951 Ford. Neat, warm old survivor, great time capsule, little old lady car. With a little tinkering and maintenance, would be a great little driver. This car sold new to the family and sold again today to the family. Pretty neat to see a car like this passed down 3/4 of a century to the same family. The 1929 Roosevelt was a star car of the auction, and it brought a starry price. Like the others, it was presented in running condition and operable, so the buyers took notice and bid strong for this rare, unique piece of our country's transportation history. Take a good look at it. This will probably be the only one we ever run across to show here on the channel. Yeah, the buy-in was big, but so was the presence and the story of this car. If you got the cash and you love the car, you might as well own it, be the next caretaker, preserve this history for the next generation. The bargain of the sale was the Survivor Time Capsule 35,000 mile 1956 Bel Air. Excellent car. You'll probably not run across in this condition anytime soon. Needing a few mechanical updates with great parts availability, this is a car that with a little work could be closer to the $20,000 range. I sweated whether to jump in on this one because it would have had great money-making potential. However, I saw the family bidding on it, and some things are worth more than money. One of those being this car being preserved by the members of the original family. Very well bought. The 1932 Chevrolet, for being a fairly average car, fairly average condition, of a fairly average body style, attracted strong interest and strong bidding from several different individuals. I believe part of this phenomenon had to do with the star of the show being the Roosevelt, and with only one example of it, the people who may have come prepared to buy it and missed out on it were ready to go hard on the 32 Chevrolet, pushing this car to sell toward the higher end of the market. In my opinion, still well bought, because 1932, 33, 34 cars are some of the neatest, Depression-era styling, and sold in the fewest numbers, which, when combined with the wood body, makes survivor cars like this a little tough to find, and they don't come to market in this condition every day. So, not a bad buy. While looking rough around the edges, the closer you gazed at it, the '64 Comet was still a very sharp, attractive, unique car. It would definitely stand out among all the other Falcons and Mustangs, and at the price that it was sold for, was way under what you would have in taking a rough car out of a field and making it this nice. A lot of fun here for a little over 10 grand. Probably the easiest and most affordable one of the bunch to maintain. So, for what's here, very well bought car that the buyer definitely won't get hurt on. The Cadillac sold realistic market for one of these cars. Some might say on the higher end, especially considering the dented quarter panel and the dirty under hood condition and the lack of factory AC. But again, like the Comet, price this one against taking a ratty one out of a field, and with the cost of labor, materials, and parts so high as it is today, this car, against the cost of going all the way to restore one, still a respectable buy-in. well bought.